I am making a relinquished deck profile. I tested this deck at my locals and I thought it did pretty well, even though I didn't really win any matches. Those will be posted later. But since I tested it at my locals, I changed it up a bit and I've been testing this one online and I actually really like how it's been doing. So I figured I'd go ahead and make a deck profile before testing it at locals. Now, starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Jester Confine. Confine has the effect of you can special summon from your hand in attack position. However, during your opponent's next end phase, when I summon this way, you target one monster your opponent controls and return both to the hand. But you can only control one Jester Confine. This effect hardly ever matters because knowing if you summon it, you're going to link it off or use it for ritual fodder. But typically, you're going to link it off. So it's only in here for link fodder. Then I play 3 copies of Golden Eyes Idol. Idol has the effect of you can look at your opponent's hand and then its name becomes Thousand Eyes Idol. I like this because generally if your opponent has an infinite impermanence or effect failure, they'll use it on your idol so you can't see their hand. So I like idol because of how it's hand trap fodder. And then it has the other effect where if it's banished by a card effect, you can target one monster your opponent controls and equip it to an Eyes Restrict monster you control or relinquished. And that's treated as being equipped by its own effect. And the only monster that really works well with is Millennium Eyes. Because all the other monsters you can equip to, if they already have a monster equipped, it will do nothing. Moving on, I play 3 copies of Relinquished. Relinquished is a great monster in my opinion, just because you can target one monster your opponent controls and equip it to it as material. Whereas most cards when monsters on my locals have the effect of they can't be destroyed by card effects, like El Shaddai Winda. Or has to be destroyed the first time it be destroyed, each turn it's not. Something like that. So Relinquish just takes care of those easily, as well as other things like Kaijus. But then it has the effect of if it has a monster equipped if it's equipped with an opponent's monster, would be destroyed by battle, you can send the equipped monster to the graveyard, and your opponent takes the same battle damage you took. So if it has 2,000 attack because it's equipped with an opponent's monster, and then they attack us something with 3,000, you would take 1,000 points of damage. You send the equipped monster to the grave, and then they take 1,000 damage, and Relinquished gets to survive. Then I play 3 copies of Millennium Eyes Illusionist. Illusionist has the effect of you can discard it as a quick effect to target one monster your opponent controls and equip it to a Relinquished or Eyes Restrict monster you control. And then it's treated as being equipped by that monster's effect. And if you special summon an Eyes Restrict or Relinquished monster while it's in your graveyard, it has the mandatory effect of having you return to your hand. So you can use it as a ritual, or you can tribute it to activate Black Illusion Ritual, summon Relinquished, and its own effect will mandatory return to your hand. Then, to finish off the hand traps, I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I then play 3 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju, when it's normal or flip summon, lets you add a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. I then play 2 copies of Illusionist Faceless Magician. Magician has the effect of if it's in your hand or graveyard, when a Relinquished or an Eyes Restrict fusion monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon from your hand. And if it gets sent from the field to the graveyard, under any means, then lets you bring back an Eyes Restrict or Relinquished monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. I like it because you can have in your hand, opponent kills your Millennium Eyes, you summon this, they don't kill it because they'll bring back Millennium Eyes. You summon another monster, summon Anaconda, this brings back Millennium Eyes. I just really like Illusionist Faceless Magician. Then I play 1 copy of Dark Magician, 1 copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon, just because sometimes you do need the Dragoon, although I still personally believe that Red Eyes Dark Dragoon needs to be banned, along with Mystic Mine. and I will keep saying that until the two cards get banned. Then for Kaijus, I play 3 copies of Gamma Seal because it's the weakest. 1 copy of Gadarla because I wanted to play 8 Kaijus. Then I play 2 copies of Dagoran and 2 copies of Jizukuru. The only thing I would change with the Kaijus is I'm actually thinking about taking out Gadarla and Dagorans for 3 copies of Thunder King the Lightning Strike Kaiju. But for now, this is working, and I'm perfectly fine with it. But the point of the Kaijus is you tribute opponent's monster, summon it to a zone that you want it in. So like one of these 2. So that you can equip it with anima. And then you can... The reason I like them is because you can... Go ahead and use my zones while they're here. You can summon a Kaiju to an opponent's field. Then you can link summon to anima. Take that monster. Give your opponent another Kaiju. Then summon a relinquished. Equip it. Give your opponent a 3rd Kaiju. Link off. Summon relinquished anima, summon Anaconda. Use effect summon Millenniumizer Strict. Use the fusions effect to equip the 3rd Kaiju. I just like it because the Kaijus give the Eyes Restrict and relinquished monsters more attack points. Moving on to the spells. I play 1 copy of Red Eyes Fusion to summon Dragoon. 1 copy of Instant Fusion. Lets you pay 1,000 life points to more or less special summon a level 5. Was it level 5 or 7? Level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, treating it as a fusion summon. And then it can't attack and it's destroyed during the end phase. I just like this because you can use it to summon Millennium Eyes or 1,000 Eyes Restrict. Take an opponent's... Or it's usually summon 1,000 Eyes Restrict, take an opponent's monster, link it off into anima, take another monster. But the best part is that it's treated as a fusion summon, so Illusion's Faceless Magician can still revive it. Then I play 3 copies of Black Illusion Ritual so I can summon Relinquished. Then I play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This lets you add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and then you can add a ritual monster that's the same name as what's in that ritual spell's text from your deck to your hand. So you add Black Illusion Ritual, and then because it lists Relinquished, you can also add Relinquished. Then I play 3 copies of Relinquished Fusion. Relinquished Fusion is a quick play spell that lets you fusion summon an Eyes Restrict monster by banishing materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. It also has the effect of you can banish it to equip and target 1 monster your opponent controls and equip it to a Eyes Restrict monster you control. And I do not believe... Yes. The only thing that makes me sad about that effect is that it's not a quick effect to activate it from the grave, like it would be if it was a trap. But... there are a couple times where I played and I actually needed to equip Millennium Eyes or something, but I couldn't and ended up losing Millennium Eyes because of it. And to finish off the spells, I play 3 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Interrupted Kaiju Slumber destroys all monsters in play, or destroys as many monsters as possible that are in play. And then, if it destroyed something, you can then special summon 1 Kaiju to each player's side of the field from your deck. And then on its turn, it wasn't sent to the graveyard. So you activate it, and then on your next turn, you can banish it to then add a Kaiju from your deck to your hand. And that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, I play 3 copies of Relinquished Anima. Relinquished Anima requires a level 1 monster other than a token, which makes me sad because if I was able to use a token, I would have been able to make a bigger board. Oh well. But I like it at 3, but if you don't want to play 3, you can always replace 1 with something like Link Grebo. And then I played the 1 copy of Predaplant Green Anaconda. Anaconda has the effect you can pay 2,000 life points, send a fusion spell card from your deck to the grave to then apply its effect to Fusion Summon. This is a good way to get around things like when your opponent activates Imperial Order, because then they think, now you're going to do that, can't Ritual or Fusion Summon. You just go, well, I'm just going to make an Anaconda and proceed to Fusion Summon. It's funny. Then I play 1,000 Eyes Restrict. 1,000 Eyes just says, while it's on the field, other monsters cannot attack. Once per turn, you target 1 monster your opponent controls and equip it to it against that monster's combined attack and defense. Or original attack and defense. And that's about it. I just like it because I can start off with Instant Fusion, taking an opponent's monster, link it off for Animus, taking another opponent's monster. Then I play 3 copies of Millennium Eyes Restrict. Millennium Eyes Restrict is the boss monster of this deck, where if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can then target 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field, or in their graveyard, and equip it to it. And then, while it's equipped with monsters, any cards your opponent controls, or any monsters your opponent that's in your opponent's possession that have the same name as the equipped card cannot activate their effects. Their activated effects are negated, or they cannot activate their effects are negated, and they can't attack. So, Millennium Eyes was really good, especially when I was facing Infernoid. Just because they had activated Decatron's effect, I chained Millennium Eyes to equip it with Decatron, and now all their Decatrons are negated. There's not really much that you can do without Decatron, but due to mistakes I made in the game, which, again, that'll be posted later. Well, it'll make sense. Then to finish off the fusion monsters I play constantly, I also play the 1 Red Eye Star Dragoon just to help with keeping control of the game. And then I do slide Super Poly in this deck, so the last 6 cards are all Super Poly targets of 1 Mud Dragon of the Swamp, 1 Starting Venom Fusion Dragon, 1 El Shaddai Construct, 1 Draco Necro Nether Soul Dragon, 1 copy of Mysterion the Dragon Crown, and 1 copy of Invoked Elysium. These Super Poly targets I only play based on the people are usually at the locals that do good. But these last 6 spots can be anything you want. So if you don't want to play a Super Poly and would rather play Lynx, you can take these out for 6 other Link monsters. This is just the way I like playing it, so yeah. But yeah, my testing that I did at my locals with this, it won't be this exact deck, but those videos will be up on YouTube later. But if you have any ideas what I can do to improve my relinquished deck, any decks you'd like to see me make, or any game decks you want to see face each other, so like relinquished versus earthbound, something like that, feel free to comment those below. Thanks for watching.